No one always is wanting you to sit there and watch the bar kind of progress, and hopefully it loads up. All right, looks like YouTube is connected now, so we're live on YouTube, and let me get the recording going on Zoom, and now we're recording on Zoom as well. Looks like there's no one else in the waiting room, so I will then call the meeting to order here for the Region 9 Board of Education special meeting at 6:03 p.m. And our first item of business is discussion and possible, and for the record, all board members are present, as well as Dr. Penn, Dr. Harrison, and several members of the public. And so for our first item on discussion and possible action, number 2 on the agenda, item A, update on the search consultant RFP for the personnel search for the assistant superintendent and head of school. So Dr. Harrison, would you like to start us up with this?
So at the last personnel meeting or personnel search committee meeting that we had, we determined that we would post an RFP for a search consultant to get some bids that we could consider. We wanted to take a pretty aggressive timeline, so we wanted to move that through quickly. In addition to posting that RFP, we also reached out to 3 local search consultants that we've either worked with in this district or in neighboring districts, and to invite them to also submit a proposal. We received 1 completed proposal by the deadline on April 1st. I made a copy of that and scanned that to you in an email, and really just lifted out the most important components of that, looking at the timeline, which I knew was a significant concern just as we go forward, and then also the cost. We did not hear anything from one of the search firms that we reached out to. The second, which is Dr. Arardi, where we had anticipated that he would also submit a proposal. He responded and shared with Clarence that his initial plan to submit a proposal went sort of off track. He recently sold his house, and it sold much faster than he anticipated, which he was happy about that, but then just was not sure about the time commitment, and felt like it did make sense to submit a proposal at this time. So we have 1 proposal to review, and I guess the options are that we could agree to move forward with CES, or the board could determine that we would not use a search consultant and then run the process internally.
Yes, and thank you for that, Dr. Harrison. And so, yeah, I agree. I think the discussion here is exactly that. I mean, there's another option. We could wait and wait for more people or try to expand the search consultant. But again, our timeline trying to get through a couple of rounds of interviews and any community feedback and contracting and getting a person on board by the 1st of July for the new school year. I think, that's part of the reason we needed the meeting this evening, so we can make a decision and move forward, because we don't have a lot of time to get through all those activities. So I agree, Dr. Harrison. I think our 2 options that we need to discuss here as a board, moving forward with the consultant RFP that we have here, or if we're not using consultants at all, if we're going forward, and then our next steps if we're going to go it alone without a consultant. So I will open it up for discussion. Hopefully everybody has the RFP response that came out and had a chance to look at that. And we'll just open it up for board questions, but I would look for a motion here at the end of this item on a direction that we want to go. I don't think we can wait until the end of the month to our next regular meeting. We just need to get some wheels in motion. So Mike, go ahead. I see your hand.
Yeah, so thank you, Todd. So I originally was in the camp of no search consultant. We didn't use one the last time, and we were very successful using, the search committee, personnel search committee, and using central office. I have to tell you, I'm not sure at this point. I'm slightly concerned. I think we have to look internally to see what the demands are that are on our central office staff. We kind of gave direction, and we're kind of in a bind that we wanted to do this RFP very quickly and see what we could do. And it seems like it took 2 weeks to write it, and then we gave responders 1 week or 5 days to kind of respond. And it's nice to hear that we did at least reach out to other search firms, so that I guess awareness probably was not an issue. But I am also concerned because I did read the RFP and the information that was posted on our website, and I would renew my my opinion that whenever we post anything like this, an RFP, whenever we send anything like this out, it should be reviewed by council. And I'll tell you why. There's not just is it just a cut and paste nightmare with different fonts all over the place, but there's also a dating error. It says dated at Easton, Connecticut, this 25th day of April 2021, which I'm sure that was supposed to say March. So it concerns me. So I think, we have to be conscious of the fact that maybe our staff is overwhelmed and has lots to do. And so for that reason, I'm kind of leaning now towards maybe we do need someone to, run this for us, so that someone, a firm that can be held accountable, that we can kind of give direction and have accountability for meeting our deadlines and things like that, given the fact that it is such a compressed timeline. So that's where I stand at this point.
All right, thank you. Others, Karen, I see your hand.
Have we used CES before for any search for any jobs?
We've used all of them at certain points, not recently, but way back when. Yes, we have used CES.
Do you have any experience with them, Dr. Harrison, in your previous position?
No, I have not worked with CES. I ran two high school principal searches previously, and both of those were done internally.
And how does this pricing compare with Dr. Arrudi's pricing?
I actually think that this is less than the pricing for Dr. Arardi's company.
Thank you.
Other questions come? Cheryl, go ahead.
I had many of the same questions, Karen. So thank you for asking them. We got answers. But I do have one other question, Dr. Harrison. Do you think the staff that you think would help the team to have the consultant? I know we only have one. Seems like the cost is reasonable. I certainly agree with Mike with respect to the compressed timing, and we want to be able to prioritize it. But I just want to be sure that that would help the central office and our team fill the position as opposed to being a hindrance.
So I do think that the consultant would be helpful, particularly on the gathering information, surveying the community, and putting together a profile. I think that's the could be the time-consuming piece in this process. As far as posting the position and going through the rounds of interviews, I would feel really confident moving forward. I think that we are just on the backside of the busiest parts of the budget season. So I do think that there's a little bit of a lull there. But again, this is me anticipating what that lull looks like, having not lived that post-budget season in ER9. And so, I would feel confident with the interview part, but I think it would be very, very helpful to have the assistance with the building of a profile.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Other comments, thoughts from board members? I share from my perspective. I do think it'll help with all the scheduling. I definitely agree on that aspect, and also any of the background searches and those kind of things. If we were to go it alone, having us board members or central office people try to schedule those and do those kind of reviews, it's going to be pretty busy on everybody else's schedules trying to do those as well. I did not see something on the having any kind of like community forum or feedback on the response. So, Dr. Harrison, I'm assuming we have some latitude. We could go back to the vendor and ask for some items of change or just kind of operating procedures, because they did say they would follow our direction for requirements. But if we wanted to have something more specific about a community Zoom call that people could provide feedback or
Right. And one of the things that they said in sort of what makes them stand out is that they do the sort of virtual survey of the community, but that they'll also run a focus group. So
Okay.
I did not see that in the timeline that was sketched out, but I did see that other places in the materials.
Yeah, and maybe they just, because of the condensed timeline, didn't put it in there, but yes. So that's something I would like to talk to them about, just seeing if we could either get the survey in or survey in community discussion, just to get feedback from the community on the next position.
Yeah, well, there are regional service centers, so I think central office staff is pretty familiar with the group. It's the same group. They have a different division that does searches, but it's still run by the same folks there. So I think there is a familiarity there. I also believe that if we were to enlist their services and request that they attend a virtual forum, I'm sure they would attend. I don't think that would be an issue. Also, I know that when we did some of the superintendents, we could run forums internally. Todd, you could run the forum. We could, just for gathering information. They don't necessarily provide an advantage. The forum is more information gathering than giving. That the forum at the end, maybe, when you're presenting your candidate or something, might be helpful to have them there. But so I know that you're looking for a motion, so I would make a motion to engage, enlist the services of CES for the Joel Barlow head of school search for $6,900.
Motion from Mike. Do I have a second? I see
Second.
Karen's hand. All right, so we have a motion. Any further discussion on the motion? We'll keep things moving then. All right, all in favor? Aye. And it looks like I see everybody's hands up, so it looks unanimous, 8-0, it passes to enlist the services of CS for our search. So, I guess, so Dr. Harrison, next steps in going back to them, how did you leave it with the vendor to get them engaged with us?
So as far as them, dropping off their materials in person, I mean, they did that. I've been in contact with Chip, who's the executive director, Chip Dumais, Dr. Dumais. So I'll reach out to him tomorrow and then just discuss next steps as far as moving forward. I'm happy to coordinate with him.
Okay, and then if you could coordinate back through me if we need to get the board together or just till we get a schedule and so forth put out, or we can have them at the 26th meeting. But if we need to get anything lined up ahead of that, happy to do that. Mike, you're.
Yeah, so I think not necessarily the board, but the board is the
search committee.
Committee. So yeah, I would, my preference would be that we run everything through the search committee. I guess at some point we had kind of a brief discussion as to whether we would have a smaller subset of the search committee. And I thought we were all pretty much in agreement that we would do that as a one group, as the search committee, and anyone who wanted to attend could attend. And we could kind of delegate responsibilities if that's necessary, within those non-meeting settings. But I would say that before we get, before the horse gets too far out of the barn, we should probably meet with the personnel search committee, with the consultant, to go over processes and expectations, and kind of, just kind of get an outline before we start going in one direction, which might not be the direction that the committee was envisioning. So I think that would be a good idea when
Yeah, I would agree with that. And on their timeline, they start up their activities around the 27th. So if we can meet with them either the 26th on our meeting, or before that as the search committee, and any of the board members on the search committee that could attend. But yeah, I would agree, just to go through their timeline, what they need from the board. If we are going to do survey for the community and public forum, work that into the timeline and all that, and just get any general questions answered. I think that'd be great, because they go pretty quickly in May on their schedule. So we need to make sure everything's lined up and ready to roll.
Can I just ask one more question?
Yep.
Dr.
Ahead,
Harrison, have you spoken with any of the people on their list of previous searches that, did they have what they had to say about their search recommendations?
I reached out to, so before I had their list of people that they would have us speak to, I've reached out to a number of superintendent colleagues to just say who have you worked with previously, and who have you had success with. And CES was one of the firms that came up every single time. So I didn't go back through this list of people, but based on some of the other people I spoke with, I felt really comfortable.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify for members of the public, when we put out the RFP, CES was the only response that we had. And in addition to Dr. Arudi saying that he could not participate at this time?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions or discussions on that item? All right, see none, then we'll move
Mary
forward.
Lee has her hand raised.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mary Lee. Sorry.
Hi, so the resumes of the people that we have here, are those the 3 people who would be handling our particular search, or are there other people who would be involved? I'm not sure how big of an organization the consultants at CES are.
So I know that they have other people that work for them that have done that also lead searches. I think specifically these are the 3 people who would be working with our search.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
No, that's how I interpreted their bid as well.
I see you have good credentials. Really good.
Yeah, and we've used them in the past, not recently, but we've used them in the past since I've been on the board for other searches. Okay.
Many thanks.
Then we'll go ahead and move on then to item 3, which is, well, we'll need a motion for this, but for recess to executive session to discuss attorney-client privilege communication regarding matter concerning former employee. So I'll look for a motion. I don't know, Dr. Harrison, if you wanted to say anything before we did that, just to give some context.
I did. I just wanted to mention, you mentioned that Rich Mills is one of our attorneys from Shipman and Goodwin who would be joining us in executive session. But we also have Morgan, who's another attorney from Shipman and Goodwin. And so I just wanted to make that clear so that whoever's making the motion knows to include both of them.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll look for, Gwen, did you want to, was that a hand for making a motion?
I'm happy to do it, or I will defer to Mike and I will second. I'd make a motion that we adjourn to executive session, and we would invite Rich Mills and Morgan Ruckert, and I presume Dr. Harrison. Anybody else we need to invite, Dr. Harrison?
That's it.
No, for the purpose of an attorney-client privilege communication.
Thank you, Mike. What Mike said.
And Dr. Pin, is she? Oh, I'm not sure.
Are we inviting Dr. Pin?
No, we don't have to.
Okay.
All right, so the motion was made by Gwen, and Mike, were you seconding? Just so I get it
Absolutely, I'll
right.
be happy to
All right,
second.
thank you. All right, so we've got a motion on the floor to move to executive session for a matter of attorney-client privilege communication regarding a matter concerning a former employee, inviting Dr. Harrison, Mr. Rich Mills, and Mr. Morgan Ruckert to the session along with the board members. And any other discussion on that? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and call the question. All in favor? Aye, raise your hand. All right, it's unanimous for the board members. 8-0. All right, so bear with me for a minute. I need to set up a breakout room. I will invite all those people mentioned in the motion into the room. So you'll see a message pop up and click it to go into the breakout room. I am going to stop recording so it doesn't follow us over into the breakout room. And I believe that the YouTube channel, I'm just gonna, it usually does not follow us to the breakout rooms, but I may stop it just to be
I would
safe
stop
as
it.
well, because don't
Stop it.
necessarily need a technical glitch there. And so for anybody in the public still, you'll stay in the main room here. And then we will come back hopefully relatively quickly back into the main room to come out of the executive session and continue on with the rest of the agenda. All right. So give me 1 minute here and I'm going to get everybody into the breakout room. And it's almost there. Just double check. Okay. All right. So members should be seeing that, and I'm going to stop the recordings and then